So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.
Welcome to this week's Energy Show. Now, the annual Solar Power International Show was last month. This was the 16th show. Heck, it started way back in 2004 in a tiny venue in San Francisco. And it's grown terrifically, as has the solar industry itself. It expanded into solar. So the Solar Power Show was in Salt Lake City this year. A big focus on energy storage. It's just been building and building every year, more and more energy storage products. Now, in addition to the plethora of bigger and better solar panels, there's many new racking and mounting system products, ways to connect these systems to your roof or to a big utility scale field. Plus all kinds of hardware, inverters, controls, accessories, and services. And most notably, software and hardware companies are now working to make installing and managing these systems easier. And that takes a lot of software. So software is becoming a more and more important part of the whole industry. So on this week's show, we're just going to go over some of the most notable battery storage systems that I saw at the show. Now, when you hear me talk about batteries, you notice that I talk mostly about complete systems that businesses and homeowners can get installed. Not as much talking about individual batteries, not about individual inverters, not about individual control systems. Because for the vast majority of contractors, especially residential and commercial contractors, the systems approach is really important. I mean, you don't go out there... Very few people go out there and buy an engine to put it on a car frame and then buy tires from one place and gas tank from another. You want to buy a whole system. And the reason is it's very complicated to integrate these components. Yeah, you can bolt an engine into a car, but with a solar and battery storage system, it's almost impossible to get all these parts working smoothly and completely in a long-term fashion. And one of the reasons is that you need software and firmware that's going to provide adequate configuration, operation, maintenance, and be supportable for 25 years. So there's a lot of software that goes into this. And, heck, I can think about my career in the solar industry. And, there are systems that we put in 10, 20 years ago. And if the software is no longer available, you can't use the hardware anymore. So I like to talk about complete systems. And the other kind of overall observation from what I saw at the show is a lot of manufacturers of inverters and battery storage systems, even solar panel manufacturers, are kind of jumping into the industry saying, hey, we've got a system. But when I kind of dug underneath the covers, a lot of what I saw was long on hype. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Here's some nice brochures. Here's a block diagram. This is how the inverter talks to the battery. It talks to your monitoring system. But kind of short on specifics and very, very short on actual customer installations. With that in mind, and I'll kind of wrap things up towards the end as far as what's good and not what's good, but really what you can get. I'm going to dive in right now just to among many of the inverter companies and the system companies that I saw that had products. So just kind of starting off, and this is in alphabetical order, no real preferences there. Delta Electronics is I think it's a Taiwanese manufacturer. They're a really established inverter company, one of the biggest in the world. They're not that huge in the U.S., but they're selling inverters all over the world. They were showing kind of a typical system. It's a DC coupled inverter. This is a 5,000 watt, 5 kilowatt inverter. They call it a hybrid inverter because it can take input from either the solar panels DC or the battery DC. We usually refer to it as DC coupled. And they're showing something that's combined with solar panels plus a 6 kilowatt hour battery. And they've got a power meter, and they're showing a monitoring system and software and controls and everything. So kind of very typical approach to a fairly well-known inverter company saying, hey, we've got a battery system also. I have a lot of respect for Delta, and we'll see how well they do in the market. Now, the next company that I have to talk about, because I think they make really great hardware and software, and they've been a real major player in the world, is Enphase. They didn't have a booth on the floor, but there was a lot of Enphase products and a number of other booths. The Enphase is built into a lot of solar modules. You know, heck, I'm kind of familiar with the concept of an AC solar module and a microinverter on the back of a solar module. So I want to talk about Enphase because they're important. They currently are shipping their IQ IQ7 and IQ7 Plus inverters. I think the IQ7 Plus maxes out at 295 watts. The IQ7 is a little bit less. And they're showing an AC battery. They've shipped an AC battery. They're showing their backup system. And I tested the Enphase AC battery. It works great. Enphase does a really commendable job of kind of packaging the system. The dilemma with their AC battery product, which I understand was selling really well in Australia, where the peak versus off-peak gap was really high and you really needed a battery, but here it's not that big in the U.S., didn't get a lot of traction in the U.S., and so they've been working really hard at Enphase to come out with a complete battery backup system, which is scheduled for some early shipments in 2019, but really hitting the mass market in 2020. So what Enphase is showing, and what's going to be really impressive, is their IQ8 microinverter. It's going to be shipping in volume next year, and it's going to be able to do something called islanding. It sounds kind of like Gilligan's Island, right? But really, what it allows you to do is operate in a backup mode, disconnect from the grid, and operate like a little tiny one-house island, which everybody else's systems basically can do too. Now, what's notable about Enphase's product is that the inverters themselves will be able to island without a battery. Now, you got to remember, okay, so great, during the day, you got plenty of power on the roof, and you're going to be able to get power during the day from the solar panels. It's converted to AC power in the microinverters. But the amount of power you can get is going to be proportional to the sunlight intensity. So on a really sunny day, you're going to get a lot of sun. 1 o'clock, this thing's going to be cranking. But as you get closer to dusk, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, as the sunlight goes down, you're going to get less power. So you really have to be careful about how the system's operating, because it might be working the refrigerators and the freezers and the lights just fine at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you might not have enough power to run 2 refrigerators. And so that's something that they got to work out. Obviously, at night, when the sun's not shining, there's no power. That's why you need a battery. The battery's there to soak up excess energy during the day and then use it at night. So Enphase's islanding IQ8 system is kind of similar to what SMA's been doing for 10 years or so with their supplemental power system. You can get a little bit of power, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 watts out of the inverter, but it's only when you got a lot of sunlight. So Enphase's solution, no surprise, is to have a battery unit on the wall, a backup battery unit on the wall. It's going to be AC coupled because they have AC coming down from the roof, and that's going to be able to provide the power you need at night and also give you all the other advantages. I'll tell you, I really historically like Enphase's software, and in my experience, the inverters have been pretty darn reliable. I mean, it's not perfect, but you got to remember, if you have a roof with 30 solar panels on it, 30 microinverters, if one goes out, not the end of the world. Whereas if with a standard inverter, if one goes out, you're out for a while. Enphase's system hopefully is going to be on the market next year, and I think it's going to be pretty good. Now, I did see a note that it will require the upgrade of the older Enphase microinverters. So if you have an old Enphase system with the M series microinverters, which they did, they probably sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of systems like that, those microinverters are going to have to be removed and upgraded to the new inverters. Okay, next company just to talk about here, Fronius, one of the early inverter companies. I've installed thousands of Fronius inverters, Fronii inverters, I guess that's the plural, going back to my Akina solar days. What they're showing is their Simo hybrid inverter, which is also, once again, hybrid DC coupled. It's a 5,000 watt AC output inverter, 5 kilowatt inverter. And they're also showing the kind of standard complement of battery enclosure controllers, and they've got software. Fronius is doing software for a while. So we'll see how that kind of system comes out and how that system's really positioned against the companies that are already kind of more established in the market and how they're able to get traction. One of the most significant products that I saw at the show was from Generac. And they bought a company called Pika, which is Pika's one of the early residential battery storage systems. And I think they got a lot of news at the show because they made a big splash there. Now, you probably know Generac. You see their generators at Home Depot for a long time. They're the leading backup power generator. So a lot of people in California have a Generac natural gas generator, or like me, they picked up an old Generac. They picked up a generator, Home Depot long ago. I mean, heck, the original 6 kilowatt, 6,000 watt Generac inverter that I bought like 25 years ago, pull start thing, and I would use it every 3 or 4 years when there's a power outage. That thing still works. I mean, it's just a solid piece of equipment. As long as you kind of take care of the motor, it's fine. And incidentally, I just bought a new Generac about a few months ago. It's really expensive because you can't buy generators in California because of the PG&E blackouts, but the thing cost me like $1,100. I was kicking myself. I should have bought one 6 months ago. But the new generator has electric start. They've offered electric start options for a long time, but what I really like about it is if I want to start the generator, I just have to push open up the choke, turn on the gas, push the button, and it starts. It's something that my wife could do. And before we got a battery backup system, it was a little bit of a chore for her to kind of get everything configured, started, plugged in, change the grid over. But now these electric starts are kind of nice. And incidentally, I'm just digressing here, but the reason why I got the new one is when we demonstrate battery storage systems, customers are saying, well, I'm thinking about a generator. And we say, okay, well, that's great, but push the button here. And boy, this generator, it's really nice, but it makes a lot of noise. It's smoky. We're burning fossil fuels. It really makes the point as to why a battery system is better. And as we digress, but we're getting back on the topic of Generac, that's why Generac bought Pika. Pika's system, the inverter can handle up to 8.7 kilowatts of backup power. It's a pretty good amount. I think it might be a little bit higher. They have batteries in their cabinet, so it's a kind of a metal cabinet. You stack the batteries in there. It's expandable up to 17.1 kilowatt hours. They thought about how to address the critical rapid shutdown requirements. This is, for people in the solar industry, it's important. For people outside the solar industry, it's kind of geeky, but it's really important that every single solar panel can be turned off from something on the ground, from a switch on the ground in case of a fire. And that's tricky to do, so that they've done that. Now, they also have a suite of software that operates everything, so we'll see how that works out. But Generac's a great company for backup power, and I think that they can, get some traction with Pika with their battery backup system. Okay, LG, the huge South Korean electronic company, was showing their energy storage system. This was a hybrid DC coupled inverter. So DC coupled, it's got input from solar, it's got input from a battery. It's 7.5 kilowatts, kind of the biggest typical size there, because it works with a 200 amp panel. They say they also have an AC coupled solution for existing PV systems. I didn't really dig into that too much. And they also were showing rooftop rapid shutdown controllers with an inline rapid shutdown device. We talked about that before in the context of Generac, so that you can meet the code requirements for shutting down each panel. They also have an energy meter. And one of the greatest things about the LG's ESS is they're using the LG Chem outdoor rated battery. In my view, that battery is the best one on the market now. It's 10 kilowatt hours. There's others out there, but it has a good warranty. LG's been around for 50 years. Good chance it'll be around for another 50 years. And very conservative engineering. It's a reliable product. We've had zero problems with LG Chem batteries at our customer sites. And, I just like the fact that they're conservative. They're not exaggerating things, and they're careful about their warranties. And, the other good thing about LG Electronics is they make great solar panels, and their panels perform really well. And I like the ability to get many components from one source. Now, as far as LG's complete ESS, haven't used their inverter yet. And so I really care a lot about the inverter and how that works with all the code requirements, rapid shutdown, what kind of tech support they have, and what kind of software they have. So we'll see how LG ESS kind of does in the marketplace. All right, now, another company, Outback. I've never really talked that much about Outback because Outback's an off-grid company. They've been doing this forever. They kind of took over the mantle from Trace and Xantrex Engineering. But they also have on-grid solutions. They're using their off-grid inverter for on-grid applications. Now, they have a different perspective than SMA and SolarEdge and Enphase, which only have basically on-grid systems. Their inverter's DC coupled. It works with Outback batteries. It works with lead-acid batteries. It works with lithium-ion batteries. They have a separate charge controller, so it's not like a battery and a charge controller or a battery and a battery management system like LG Chem and Tesla have. They're separate components, and they also have software. And so I don't have a lot of experience with Outback, but I hear they do great things for off-grid, and if you're looking for an off-grid system, that's the way to go. Okay, next company, Panasonic. They have AC coupled and DC coupled systems. It's kind of like your typical electronics company that's making inverters. Hey, we've got everything. They have Panasonic's a huge battery manufacturer, so their battery systems range in size from 5.7 kilowatt hours to over 34 kilowatt hours. So, little system, kind of, to a very big system. Looking at what they had in the booth and what they're talking about, they were mostly emphasizing Panasonic's high efficiency solar panels, which are really good. It used to be the Sanyo product. So they were kind of long on the hype and long on all the benefits of a battery storage system, but kind of short on specifics. So I'm not familiar with any installers that have installed a Panasonic inverter and a Panasonic battery storage system, but kind of Panasonic, huge Japanese electronics company, no doubt in my mind that they can actually get the traction if they want it. Okay, just alphabetically, here we go. But SMA's historically been the best inverter on the market going back over 20 years. They have a great AC coupled solution so that what I like about the SMA system is if you have an existing solar system, you can add on the SMA system. Now, difference, we talked about this before, between DC coupled and AC coupled, you lose about 5% efficiency if it's AC coupled. It's a little bit trickier to get it installed. But if you have an existing solar system with an existing inverter and the inverter's still good, you don't want to change stuff, then adding an AC coupled system on is pretty good. And with SMA, I still have SMA inverters that I installed over 15 years ago that had a 5-year warranty at the time, and they're still going strong. So what SMA system includes the Sunny Boy backup inverter, which is kind of like, it looks like a typical SMA inverter, but it does backup power. They have a backup power unit, which has the transfer switch and all the fancy electronics, and actually this backup power unit can provide backup to the whole house. They've got a suite of software. SMA's got that figured out. And their inverter works with both the BYD battery, we're just specifically talking about the battery. BYD is one of the biggest Chinese battery manufacturers, and it also works with the LG Chem battery, so you kind of have a choice there. And SMA, they've been doing solar inverters in the U.S. for over 20 years. They have really good tech support. So, I like SMA. It's kind of like built like a tank. All right, next, SolarEdge. Now, SolarEdge is the market leader in inverters right now. Residential, they're doing really well in commercial too. They're a huge company, one of the most profitable solar companies in the industry. They have a really large range of products. And what they were showing at the show was kind of cool because they've had a battery storage solution on the market. We've been installing it for over 2 years. So they're on their second generation system that's going to be coming out sometime. It was on display. So while everybody else is kind of rushing to get the first generation out, SolarEdge is already on the second. And in addition to the StoreEdge inverters, which are the ones that do energy storage, they're also showing car chargers, consumption metering solutions, commercial solutions. So they've kind of got a complete suite of products, and it works well. And, for me and for many installers, if you're looking at a battery storage option, you want the battery storage option to work with the inverter option that you're already happy with. And that's where SolarEdge has a really big advantage. Their DC-coupled system, in my view, is the best for new solar customers because it's just there, it works, it's reliable, and you don't need two inverters. They're also talking about, in the future, having an AC-coupled system. They're also talking about having and showing a whole-house backup solution. So similar to what SMA is doing and similar to what Tesla's been doing for the last year, it can back up the whole house. Now, keep in mind that when you're trying to back up the whole house, it sounds like a great idea. It's like, hey, this is convenient. But it's tricky when you have an air conditioner and a stove or some appliances that are going to use a lot of power, because if you're not home or if there's a blackout in the middle of the night and you might have 5 kilowatt hours left in your battery because it's nighttime, your air conditioner turns on or some other big load turns on, that big piece of equipment is going to suck all the energy out of your battery very quickly. And SolarEdge was one of the only companies out there that actually showing a device that even though you're backing up your whole house, it could do something called shedding the loads to these really big demand items like your air conditioners or your heating system. So, personally, I'm not a big fan of whole house backup solutions without being able to automatically shed big loads. And that's why everything we've been installing has been with a small backup sub panel so that we just say, hey, give me the 4 to 6 to 8 things you really need: your hallway lights, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your entertainment system, your internet stuff, garage door opener. Tell me what you really need, and we can make sure that we've got plenty of power for that. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to power your whole house, but we don't know for how long, because if the power goes out, these other loads are going to draw that down. As I mentioned, they're also showing some commercial solutions. So they have commercial storage solutions, both AC and DC coupled. I think that's good because we're using SolarEdge for commercial installation, and now we have a battery option. And they also, unlike many other companies, they put a lot of effort into software and security, and their software is, in my view, among the best in the business. Enphase does a pretty good job of that too. Those two companies have really got it figured out, but SolarEdge is kind of in the lead right now as far as I'm concerned when it comes to good software that works with home backup systems, and I'd expect also with commercial backup systems. Okay. Next company, just kind of continuing along the alphabet here, Sonnen, German battery storage company. They were one of the pioneers. They have an integrated system. It comes in a big cabinet. You kind of look at their marketing literature. It's like this very sleek-looking metal thing that sits next to your fireplace or your flat-screen TV inside your house. It's the battery system wasn't designed for outdoor use, so they have to install it indoors. And Sonnen, although they were a pioneer, they're doing really well in Europe and Germany. They didn't get a lot of traction in the U.S. The thing was kind of expensive. They were bought bought by Shell last year or earlier this year. I'm not sure exactly when. And that really helped them because it gave them the capital, similar to when Pico was bought by Generac. And when I look at what Sonen's doing is they're focusing on high-end homes. They're emphasizing their energy management system capabilities. And this is something we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the future as the energy storage system and the inverter starts to manage other things in the house. Your car charger, your heating system, your cooling, other loads around the house. This is kind of like your one control system. I've been doing this kind of forever, and Enphase came out with some HVAC controls about a dozen years ago, but now this is becoming more and more common. So Sonnen system is there, probably on the expensive side, but they're getting traction, I understand, in the higher end homes, mostly on the new construction side. Okay, next, Tesla. They weren't at the show, but they're notable because they're on their second generation Powerwall. Their first generation Powerwall was DC coupled. They came out with a second generation, which is what they've been selling for the last year and a half, which is AC coupled, which means that they can add it onto an existing system. And this was a really smart marketing move on Tesla's part because they can add these backup systems on to everybody that's had solar before. Great idea. Now, obviously, they didn't know that it was going to be a wildfire disaster in California and there's going to be these public safety power shutoffs, but they're really well positioned because people are freaking out. They're worried about losing power when there's a fire or when there's a public safety power shutoff. They can put in a Tesla Powerwall backup system. Now, it does whole home backup. It's kind of designed for that. As I said, I'm not a big fan of the concept, but it's kind of nice to be able to say, hi, I can back up my whole house. But, in reality, if you have a normal size house, you're not going to need one Powerwall. You're probably going to need 3 or 4 to really keep the thing going at night. And I've heard about situations where really big houses, they might have like 6 or 7 of these things lined up somewhere in the basement. Tesla, good idea. They make great cars. My understanding is the people that have these Tesla Powerwalls are generally really happy. So it's a good option, especially for people who already have solar. So just to kind of wrap up, to summarize, a lot of products were on display at SPI this year. Very few are what I would consider ready for prime time. In other words, ready for prime time means what can you buy now that you can get installed in a few months that's actually going to work and it's going to be reliable. It's not going to be a science project for your installer. So based on what I've seen and installed, my preference obviously is for all the components from one company or very well integrated components. And I like batteries that have integrated batteries and battery management systems. If the battery management system doesn't come from the company that makes the batteries, I'd be kind of careful. And also personal preference here in California, I like the ability to hang the battery on the wall. Yes, it's kind of heavy, but then it's out of the way. It's not going to get as wet. Some companies are mounting these battery cabinets on a pad outside. Makes me a little bit more nervous. I just like to hang it up like we hang up the inverters. Good battery manufacturers, LG Chem, they make the batteries. Tesla has the Gigafactory in Reno. They're using Panasonic batteries in there. Enphase, I'm not sure where they're getting their batteries from, but their products are good. And also BYD is a Chinese manufacturer. The batteries are good. And then many good battery storage companies buy cells from LG Chem. Heck, my Chevy Volt's got LG Chem batteries in it. Panasonic, Samsung. So there are good battery companies out there, and I like to pick batteries from a company that's going to be around and big. Now, most importantly, make sure you get a complete integrated system from a major manufacturer. You need the controllers, you need the software, you need the customer service. Very expensive and time-consuming. We're talking years to get through all the regulatory requirements for the major markets. There's UL, there's rapid shutdown requirements in the National Electric Code. You have this thing in California called Rule 21. And you don't want to have to be calling 2 or 3 companies to say, all right, is this piece UL listed? How do I meet the UL, this California Rule 21 requirements for, your inverter? It's got to be all built in. One company to call for support. So based on these criteria, my preferences are SolarEdge with LG Chem. We've been installing it for 2 years. Customers are happy. Tesla's out there. I'm not a Tesla dealer, but the customers that have them are happy. SMA's got a really good solution, new, and I think, I got a lot of respect for that company, and they make reliable equipment. It's like a tank. And the Enphase system, when it comes out in 2020 in volume, I think will be pretty good. Most importantly, make sure you select a battery storage system, backup power system from an experienced installer, someone who's already installed these things. So you're kind of not the first one, and you can check up your references. All right. That's all the time we have on this week's Energy Show. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. And if you missed any of today's show, you can go to our website at cinnamon.energy and listen to the podcasts.
So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.